The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello and welcome to today's web seminar, How to Ensure the Success of Your Insurance Producers. This web seminar is brought to you by Startup Selling and will feature two speakers today. Alan Bloom. Alan's an author and the founder and CEO of Startup Selling. He's written two books, Sell More and Work Less, a sales tips book, and Your Virtual Success, Finding Profitability in an Online World. He was named to the prestigious Inc. 500 list in 2 consecutive years and is widely considered an insurance marketing and lead gen expert. My name is John Scranton. Like many of you, I was previously an insurance producer for a top 100 agency, so I've faced many of the challenges that you have, and now I help agents with those challenges at Startup Selling with marketing and lead gen initiatives. I co-authored Sell More and Work Less with Alan, and with that, let's begin. So to introduce today's topic, as we know, producers represent both a great source of opportunity, they're your revenue stream, they're your bottom line, and also a significant investment in time, getting new producers up and running or making good producers great, and money. They're a big cost, not only commissions, benefits, etc., but all the resources that they require to be successful. So today, we're going to talk about how you can ensure the success of producers, how you can hedge your bets to make sure that investment you make in your sales team is successful and produces a compelling return on investment. But before we share those answers with you, we're going to begin by talking about why producers fail. So assuming your producers, your sales team, is competent and motivated, there's still many ways they can stumble and fall and eventually fail if the agency isn't providing them with the right kind of resources. One of which is they have a poor quality prospect list or prospect email list. Many agents in the old days were provided with a phone book. Maybe today they're provided with a login to, InfoUSA or Sales Genie or something, and they have to mine for their own prospects. Better would be to provide agents with a scrubbed list of target prospects in industries where you know your markets have an appetite and you have a great reputation. Or producers try to do all their marketing on their own. Maybe they have a picture on the directory page of your website, but they don't have a targeted landing page for the industries and markets that they're going to be going after. So they try to stumble through creating something on their own at home at night that they're not trained to do, or they try to do all their own lead gen. They're doing email micro campaigns that are causing more spam complaints than they are generating leads, and they're making mountains of cold calls day and night trying to fill their calendars with appointments. Or for the appointments that they do have, they have lousy collateral materials. They don't have great leave behinds. They don't have digital case studies that they can send to prospects to impress them with the agency's resources, reputation, testimonials, etc. They know they should be on social media. They know they can glean leads from social media, but they don't have time to get to it. Or if they have time, maybe they're not trained and they don't really understand social media. They may lack the tools or knowledge for successful web meetings. Many busy executives now prefer introductory web meetings or even web meetings throughout the sales process. Maybe the agents don't have a great platform to use, or maybe if the agency has one, the agents don't know how to use it or don't know how to use it well. And last but not least, potentially they could lack a coherent and documented lead handling process. So as they work leads through the pipeline, they don't have a process to follow, so missteps happen or opportunities are missed, and they don't capitalize on the opportunities that they have. So with that, Alan, tell us how agents can overcome these challenges and how agencies can ensure the success of their producers.
It's kind of interesting. This first bullet point that everyone can see here hasn't changed dramatically for several decades, meaning way back when you still needed a list of people to contact. The better the list, the more likely you were to have success in penetrating that contact list and finding good quality prospects. And we have a definition here, which is suspect versus prospect to talk about, because in actuality, a great list is first and foremost just a suspect list, which you're hoping to then glean prospects from. So you want to make sure that your agency, above all, starts with a great foundation, which is a top quality, comprehensive suspect list of every targeted individual in your region that you want your producers to reach out to. And we say this time and again, webinar after webinar, in meetings, in many of the reviews that we have with agencies across the country. And most of the time, that has not been done at the agency. They either don't know how to do it, they did it 10 years ago and they haven't refreshed it. The territory's expanded and they don't have a comprehensive, a great list. Some subscribe to a really basic, a fundamental service, perhaps like an Info USA or something, and it's not comprehensive enough. And most of the time, they don't have the accompanying emails. So step number one, make sure every producer, especially new producers, has their targeted list, has emails, which we're going to talk about in a minute, because you can't just say, here's your emails, go to town. Okay, and that list includes all relevant demographics, the phone number, preferably also a direct phone number, the email address, and the size, revenue, employees, region, verticals, specialties, manufacturing, distribution, all of that is in great shape. Now, once you have that, of course, it should be loaded into either a simple contact management system or your Salesforce/CRM system. If you're using your agency management system for CRM, you have to make sure it's one that the salespeople, your producers, are going to be happy and effective using. You don't want them to go rogue and just be working off some random list that they've created. So the tip here, not only should all emails be ping tested prior to use, and if you don't know what that is, you should come talk to us, because every email list should be ping tested prior to distribution. You should also have a really clear policy for your producers as to how they should be using emails. Let's move on to the next topic. That last point is a great segue into supporting your producers with truly effective marketing. So part of the challenge is a producer comes in, or you have an existing producer and they're struggling, their book's 100K, their book's 200K, and especially early on when there's no book, you really want to have that marketing foundation. So you're trying to help them work on some activities, work with some prospects that they can then convert into business. Having a few go well is immensely important in the early stages, but also with existing producers, as they become busier, you want to have that marketing ear cover for people so that the top of the funnel is being filled. Asking for them to do it on their own is usually a recipe for failure. It is rare that a top sales producer is also a top marketing talent, or that a top sales producer is a truly organized individual from a standpoint of systems and operations and follow-up, etc. So if you want to get your great producers producing even more, have some tools available to help them. Have programs in place. For new producers, have some of that air cover, have that marketing going so that you have somewhat of an engine helping them along. Now, what happens is a producer comes aboard, or there's an existing producer who's a new producer, or there's an existing producer who's a good producer. And what happens is they're doing their own thing. We call them eagles. They're flying alone. And when they do that, they create snowflakes. So what you want to do is help them not do that by having some standardization and high quality materials to support them, so that they don't go out and try to create their own materials, as John was just talking about. Step number one, you have a great website. It doesn't have to be a huge website. It doesn't even have to be a tremendously deep website. It has to be, however, a professional, up-to-date website that carries the language you wish to carry for your messaging to your top prospects. Today, that's an SSL website. If your website is not SSL yet, you're making a big mistake. That's a huge takeaway. Make it SSL, make it current, make it friendly to the search engines, and have information available for both prospects and producers. That website becomes the foundation for your email marketing and drip campaigns. Those are different, by the way. Email marketing, sending out a large-scale emailing for a webinar, or here's a case study, or here's a white paper. That's an email marketing campaign. A drip campaign is very specific campaigns where you're dripping on prospects in a warming pool with progressively different types of information to the point that they become, instead of a warm lead, a hot lead. And of course, you want to support your producers with social media. Now, it's not just supporting them with social media. You are telling them, you're explaining to them, you're showing them the type of social media you'd like them to do. Your branding, your logo, your professionalism, the way in which you create your social media posts. You are leading by example. Frequently, we go to websites, we go to social media platforms, we click on them. Last post was 6 months ago. They're doing a blog every quarter. There's a producers haven't signed up to follow the company page on LinkedIn. Lots and lots of basic errors. So you need to have a policy in place for your social media marketing, not just for the producer, but also for the agency. So the webinar tip, it is general, but it's important. Create that marketing foundation to help ensure your producer success. Give them something to work with, standardize on it. It's not that hard to do, but boy, is it important to do. Let's go on to the next one. The funnel. You may have even seen this funnel. We're very active in social media at Startup Selling. So lead generation does tie in to many of the programs we just discussed. It is a specific aspect of your marketing that's going to be important to ensuring that producer success. So saying to the producer, here's a list, call people. I expect you to have a lot of time. I just hired you. I just spent $50,000 on a salary. You're in a 3-month or a 6-month program. We're going to help you. We're going to train you. Give them something to work with. And there's a lot of ways for agency to do that. We had mentioned filling the top of the funnel with email marketing and marketing automation drip campaigns. Well, that's one way that you can do it. Another way is you can invite people like this to webinars. We do this once a month. You could do that even more. But a once-a-month webinar is a great way to have an educational message going out to every one of those suspects that you want. And whether you're a trucking agency or you're an agency specializing in manufacturing and distribution, whatever your niche is, your business-to-business niche, usually webinars are a great way to carry that expertise by yourself, or perhaps with consultants that you use to bring your message to market, to show I'm an advisor. I am proficient in your industry or your business or in a variety of ways to help you ensure your success as an organization. Search engine optimization and PPCs are another way. That's pay-per-click. Those things can pull in very specific types of prospects for you. SEO is a longer route. You essentially talk about that as organic SEO. When somebody types in, let's say, Greensboro trucking insurance or Miami manufacturing insurance and so on, you come up at the top of the rankings and they click on you and they come to your website. PPCs are the advertisement-oriented portion of that. That's why Google makes so much money right now, why they posted such a great quarter, is lots of organizations are advertising now with pay-per-click campaigns. The good thing about the former, the SEO, organic SEO, is that as you do it, there are no ongoing additional fees. PPCs, however, which is a faster way to leads, you're paying out of pocket, you're paying for every click. So there's pros and cons to both of those. And lastly, and specifically for niches, traditional appointment setting campaigns, if done correctly, can be very effective. One of the best areas, by the way, for that is for transportation agencies or agencies that are in the transportation niche, whether it be trucking, towing, and moving and so on. That happens to be a particularly robust area, but it can also be done for other business verticals. Let's continue. So we have a whole slide here on collateral. And for people on the webinar today, you may want to take a look at this because a lot of times people forget about the importance of collateral. And it's not just you're here to show somebody something. It's that for producers, it's a really important tool for them to do a follow-up call, send a individualized follow-up email, for them to help not only secure the appointment, but to make sure that appointment sticks. For all of our appointment setting insurance agency clients, we talk about a lead handling process, which we will get into, and how important collateral is for that. So if the appointment is a week away, we say the producer should send them an email confirming the appointment, and perhaps a week later, by the way, here is our agency overview in preparation for our meeting. Here's why we are great. We insure many manufacturers. Here's a case study. We're experts at biotech. Take a look at what we did for this biotech firm, and so on. Very powerful. It's also good in live meetings, whether it be a branded PowerPoint or whether, or a web meeting. You want to have great collateral to show those people, to show those prospects why they should continue to engage with you. And of course, lastly, in the closing process, sometimes you need a little extra assistance. That producer needs a little extra help to get someone over the hump. And a great case study or a great recorded webinar or video could be really helpful as a closing tool. So what types? Agency overview document, infographics, video, recording, articles are terrific. Many of these things are also excellent for your organic search engine optimization that we talked about in the prior slide. Let's continue. So social media. If you're not a millennial and you're on this call, you might feel differently about social media than as we move down to people in their 30s and 20s. More and more of those people are making the decisions to buy insurance for their organization or for themselves. So social media is today very important for your credibility, for your outreach, for your branding, for your producers. And for B2B, of course, LinkedIn is preeminent, though there are other platforms that people find important. For your recruitment and retention efforts, social media is really important today. So what does that mean? Well, you as an organization, you as an agency or broker should be posting to social media profiles daily. You don't have to post multiple times a day, but a solid daily posting relevant to your organization, which could be anything from OSHA changes to FMCSA changes. If you're benefits, you can have lots of ACA related changes. Whatever your expertise, you carry that through to social media. Then when a producer is talking to a client and a client checks them out on Facebook or LinkedIn or happens to be a Twitter individual, somebody who really likes Twitter, then absolutely your presence is there. You look professional, you look active, you appeal to millennials and others, and the producer isn't just sitting there hanging out trying to figure it out on their own. Now, that means you're going to be helping producers with content that they can share. Hey, check out this post my company just put online. You want to have professional images. Many of those are free today. But again, it gives the producers something to work with on social media. Articles are terrific on LinkedIn, especially if you do them on LinkedIn Publishing, or you want to share them in a group. Your group, for example, New York Manufacturing Group, or the Florida Maritime Group, if you happen to be insuring yachts in Florida. So take that and use it and leverage it and give producers something to work with on social media. Now, lastly, and very importantly, don't let them be the eagles and fly on their own. Have a policy, have a format, have a content, have a written process, a written methodology that you could share with them so they don't mess up your social media for you. Remember, they're an extension of your brand. Don't let them go rogue. And the takeaway tip for the webinar, don't wing it. Create a producer policy for social media. Let's continue. So John, why don't you take this over? You run web meetings constantly.
I run web meetings every day, believe it or not. And when I was an insurance producer, I never ran any web meetings. Now, a little time has gone by, and I know that with some producers, they have gained some traction and some popularity. But in our experience, talking to our agency clients and prospects and their producers, more and more meetings are being executed online, are being digitized. And many busy business owners or VP of HR or CFO or other decision makers that you want to talk to, that you want to prospect, are very, very tied down and can't get away from their desk for an hour or don't want you in their office for an hour, but they can commit to a 20 to 30-minute web meeting. So agencies need to be providing their producers with the tools to succeed with web meetings. It's a completely different type of pitch, different type of sale. First off, you need a web meeting solution like GoToMeeting, WebEx, or similar, something that's easy for your producers to use, and more importantly, is very easy for their prospects to use, very easy for their prospects to join or log into and become part of the conference line. Producers will also need materials specifically designed for these web meetings. They won't look the same, be the same, or read the same as what they bring to a live meeting. They need to be high impact, branded. There should be PowerPoint, hopefully some live demonstrations if possible. And they also need a clear, cohesive web meeting strategy, a path from the beginning to the end. In a live meeting where you're reading body language, experienced salespeople will often rely on an interactive dialogue that uncovers opportunities. It's different in a web meeting setting. Even if you're on video, you're not there, you don't have the same kind of feel, so you need a very clear path, a very comprehensive strategy from point A to point B in the meeting. What are you going to accomplish and how? Lastly, you should have a very comprehensive best practices list for your web meetings. How early to log in? What should be opened on your computer before you log in? What programs should be closed like Skype or Outlook, etc., before you log in? What's okay to show? What's not okay to show? What's okay to say? What's not okay to say, especially if you have financial services at play. Make sure that producers are very comfortable with these best practices before they begin running web meetings on a regular basis. Once they are, they can be a great opportunity to talk to more people in the same amount of work hours and therefore eventually generate more revenue with the same efforts. So our tip for web meetings, collaboratively, meaning as a whole, producers and agency management, create a presentation and then rehearse that presentation so that every producer who will be using it or every agency manager that will be involved can give that presentation comfortably and well through a web meeting setting where they can't see the people, they can't gauge the reactions as the way they do live. They need to rehearse and be ultra comfortable with that presentation. So next, let's talk a little bit about lead handling, creating a well-defined producer lead handling process. Alan mentioned this earlier, the importance of lead handling. Many leads come into agencies that producers make a follow-up attempt on and then die off. They don't have a coherent process that they follow, a step-by-step procedure to make sure that they're capitalizing on the opportunities that they have. So our contention, our recommendation, is that agencies formalize and document a lead handling process for their producers. When this type of lead comes in, action 1 is this, step 2 is that. And these are the time increments in which we recommend you separate those actions by, depending on the lead type and the time frame, the renewal date, the type of business, etc. You also want to make sure that when you're creating this, you involve the producers because you want them to buy in. You don't want to hand a sales team a bunch of instructions that they may or may not want to follow. The more involved they are in creating this process, the more collaboratively it's done, the more likely they are to follow it. So I think Alan gave a short example before where you send an email X days before a meeting and you send collateral Y days before a meeting. It may be as simple as that. Send a meeting invitation when it's set, send an email 5 days before, send a digital collateral 3 days before or the morning of. However, there may also be many nuances depending on how many different types of prospects you're going after, and it's worth the time investment to lay all those out to ensure that your producers are successful in converting their leads to sales opportunities. It's also important that you track and measure the results of your leads: show rate, closing ratio, and lead source. So what telemarketing leads, what email marketing leads, what social media marketing leads are turning into appointments, and what percent of each of those appointments are happening? How often are they showing for live meetings versus web meetings? What percent of each different type of business by industry and by lead source is being closed? So you can figure out where your best opportunities are, where you should focus, what needs to be refined or potentially fixed, what's broken, what can we amend, or what needs to be discarded. As we all know, I believe this is a incarnation of an old Peter Drucker quote. Our tip is what gets measured gets improved. So if you're measuring show rate, closing rate, and lead source as they work through your lead handling process, you will improve that process, refine it, and make it something that your producers can leverage to ensure their success. So with that, we'd like to thank you all for attending today. If you have any questions, or if you would like a copy of the PowerPoint presentation or a copy of the video recording, please reach out to me. My phone number and email are on the screen now. We'd also like to offer any attendee today a complimentary web marketing or lead generation review. We'd be happy to talk to you about how you can ensure the success of your producers. With that, today's web seminar is now ending. We hope you all have a great day.